Welcome, everyone, to the Marvel Studios Black Panther live Q&A here on Twitter. Here in partnership with IMAX, we are coming to you live from New York City. Long live the King! My name is Candy Castleberry Singleton, and I am the Vice President of Intersectionality, Culture, and Diversity at Twitter. Today, we have a crowd here in New York City. We are broadcasting live into 10 other IMAX theaters, and I would like to give a shout out to our friends attending in Boston, Chicago, ATL, Atlanta, Dallas, Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, DC, Toronto, and Mexico City. As well as to the thousands of fans around the world watching Twitter Live. And now, give it up for the moment you all been waiting for. Let's give a round of applause one quick time. I want to bring to you, I want you to clap for yourselves because you all here too, so clap for yourselves. All right. Give a little love to yourself. Before I bring out this amazing cast and filmmakers, I'd like to invite everyone here and everyone watching around the world to join the conversation using the hashtag Black Panther Live. Now, without further ado, allow me to introduce our special guest, writer and director Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler? All right. I can't see down there. All right. Next, Shuri. Letitia Wright. Mbaku. Winston Duke. Nakia. Lupita Nyong'o. And right here in person, y'all, the king himself, T'Challa. Chadwick Boseman. Killmonger. I have to say, I'm from Oakland. I'm just going to say that. I'll leave it at that. Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan. All right, and next up we have Okoye. And that's Danai Gurira. All right. Got that part right. All right, executive producer Nate Moore. And the president of Marvel Studios and the producer, Kevin Feige. All right, so we're happy to have you all here today. Black Panther is a film that makes history for many reasons. Maybe you know of a person named April Reign, who started, she's by the way in the audience, who started a hashtag called Oscar So White. So today, I want to give a shout out. I don't have to say anything else. I could just look right here. April, you all right out there? How you feeling? All right, give a shout out to the cast. We're loving you. Now, that being said, I think that it's amazing, not just to see you all here, but the actual movie, the cast, the filmmaker, and we're going to just give a little shout out to Kevin on the end just so you feel included, all right? All right, why don't we start with the Black Panther. Actually, the movie comes out in 4 days, and fans are obviously anxiously awaiting. And everywhere you go, in Times Square, right now, on Twitter, probably in your own personal lives, we're all awaiting. By the way, I haven't seen the film, which is why I'm still not getting all the pronunciations right, so forgive me. All right, that being said, we are also have an audience here that has lots of questions. And so I'm just going to ask a general question to start, and then I'll ask some individual questions for you. Is that all right? All right. So what has it been like seeing this conversation about Black Panther on Twitter? It's erupting, and fans are literally talking about this every day, all day. I literally was in London and woke up to all kinds of tweets. We have the Blackbirds, which is our Twitter Black employee group, tweeting about it every day. A shout out to the Blackbirds. So what has it been like seeing this conversation and the announcement about the film? And any one of you can take this first question. You don't all have to speak at once.
There was no way for us to foresee, what's happening right now. The movement of it is extraordinary. It's sort of taking on a life of its own. I know that we all knew that there was a possibility here, from the comic book and the script that Ryan and Joe Robert Cole, what they put together, we knew that there was a great potential in it. And so I think we put our heart and soul in it because, we knew it was a great opportunity. But to see how people have responded to it and that they haven't even seen the movie yet, like, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's crazy. And, I'm very, very enthusiastic about sharing this with the world, especially because it has a lot of substance to it.
Anybody else want to take a shot at that?
It's also been very entertaining.
Yeah.
Say more.
Like, right after the trailer dropped, like last year. Wait, what year is it? Oh yeah, it was definitely last year.
Yeah, see.
Right after that, there was this the Black Panther so lit thing that was going on, and the memes and the gifs and all that was just so entertaining, and it was like really immediately people being so creative about how their response to the movie and putting that into these incredibly just loaded images and stuff like that. It was so exciting to see, all the Coming to America references, and it's been so joyous. And like right after it dropped, a lot of us got on text message and we were exchanging the best ones, and and it was like a moment where we were just like, oh my God, like this is like, we need a support group to handle this, the enthusiasm. But it's been enjoyable because people are obviously showing a possession of this, ownership of it. And that's what dreams are made of for filmmakers, that people will relate to it in such a personal way and they'll feel like this is their story. The community spirit has been amazing.
And I want to add, because, I want to make sure we don't go through this and we forget to say this, that the Black Panther challenge that Fred T. Joseph started, like, it's an incredible thing that people are buying out theaters so that, young people can see this film. Gifting it. It inspires us to do the same thing. Like I've done it. I know you've done it. We all are finding our own places, like in our own communities where we're from, to do that. And so that's an inspiration to see people raising money and trying to outdo each other in every city. And in Richmond, I know there's one that I want to acknowledge too. So it's just, you can make movies, but I don't know what this is.
I think it's speaking to like a need. It's speaking to there was something that this is hitting on. There's a pulse. There was a thirst that this is getting at, and that's really what we're seeing is a response, that ownership, that pride. I was in Zimbabwe last month, and folks are just so excited, and they're like texting me, "Are you bringing it there? Come and show it here." And and it's amazing, the ownership, because they've never seen the imagery that this film provides, and a lot of folks haven't seen it, and so that ownership and that excitement, it's touching on a pulse, that I think it's so thrilling to actually see that being met, the need being met. And so as a result, the movement comes to pass. So it's been really thrilling.
So Ryan, what about, is it all right if I call you Ryan, or would you like to call me to call you Mr. Coogler or Ryan Coogler? All right, okay. Okay. I want to know how formal we need it to be here. All right, so, all right. All right. The one time it serves me well. All right, so what about Black Panther excited you, and what made you actually want to make this film?
What about it excited? I think I first got introduced to the character when I was young, a young comic book fan, and and I was just looking for more material to read, and specifically looking for, you know, I remember I was young and walked into the comic book shop, and you know, it was in Oakland,
Right.
and kind of asked the comic book shop guy that was there, like, do you have any comic books that have, you know, that are about black characters, you know what I mean, that have a black superhero, and the books about that character, because there had been some superheroes that I come across, like an X-Men, and X-Men had a couple. They had Storm and they had Bishop, who were real cool characters, but they didn't have like whole books dedicated to them. You know, so that's kind of how I found him at the time. And it's funny because when I was that age, I think I was like maybe like 8 or 9. I read the book, and the guy kind of pitched it to me, told me what it was about and everything. And I didn't totally connect with T'Challa at the time. I was like, oh man, well he's African, he's rich, he got all these cool things, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's as like me as I was hoping, you know. But you know, fast forward to me, you know, finishing up my second film, finishing up Creed, you know, I was kind of obsessed with. I was at a point when I was kind of being obsessed with these concepts, like concepts of my own personal identity and heritage, and you know, the impact of colonization. I was kind of like looking at all of these things, and you know, thinking about a project, you know, thinking about finding a project that I could explore some of those themes, and Nate Moore, who's at the end over there next to Kevin, called me and you know, said, hey, I want to talk to you about this project. And got to meet him, got to meet Kevin, and heard what they were thinking about the character, and I realized that this would be an opportunity for me to like explore some really deep personal questions that I had about my own self and about the world as it was, and at the same time to make a superhero movie, which was like one of the dreams I always had. Get to work with some of my friends and you know, meet some new folks was a dream that I always had. You know, so that was kind of what brought me to this project.
Well, we're excited about it, and one day we'll have to talk about like where that comic book store is in Oakland.
I'll tell you, it's on Piedmont Avenue. It's Dr.
I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where it is.
Oh, right.
Down the street from Wells Fargo.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I got you. All right. Chadwick Boseman. What was the work that you did to prepare to actually characterize the king of an African nation, beyond obviously watching Coming to America?
I'm very happy to be here. It didn't feel like work, to be honest with you. In retrospect, it is a lot of work, but for me, it was just a matter of absorbing, you know, anything that could inspire the work. So whether it be, you know, reading books on African culture, you know, reading like the classics, John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, you know, reading just you know, African philosophers, and at the same time, you know, it was a matter of doing a lot of physical work. There's a lot of action in this movie, a lot of physicality to this movie. I did a DNA test to try to connect to where I'm actually from. That's something that we, as African Americans, can do now that we couldn't do before. It's not really an excuse for you to say, I don't know what ethnic group I come from, because there's a test that you could take to find that out. And so during this process, I went up the branch of my tree to find where I'm from through AfricanAncestry.com. Listen to a lot of music, you know, just to find what I felt was, you know, the energy behind this character. I think we tried to surround, like I brought people on set. Jabari Exum was a person that, you know, he came to stay with me. I would wake up in the morning to him playing drums. And so, you know, just tried to just engross myself as much as I could in what this world would be, mainly because I didn't want it to feel like a generalized, you know, anything, a generalized accent, a generalized culture. I wanted to pull from things that were actually real and tangible for me to create this. And I think really all of us did that in our own way. Not just the performers, but the designers behind the scenes did very similar things.
So we're going to take a question from a Twitter user. Her name is Daisy, and she asked for Lupita to describe Nakia in 3 words, and then determine whether you recognize yourself in those 3 words that you described.
All right. Nakia, I would describe her as independent, loyal, and stealthy. And I see myself mainly in the first 2, I wish I was a little stealthier. I try. But I identify with Nakia is, she's a war dog. She's an undercover spy. Her job is to go out into the world and report back to Wakanda what's going on. That's how Wakanda stays on top.
Right.
So that takes a lot of intelligence and stealth, to be able to go unnoticed, to wield your power subtly.
Right.
And she's also very independent. She's very loyal to her country, though she sees the future of her country a little differently than perhaps the man she has a very complicated relationship with, the king. And so I identify with that independence, and I also identify with the desire to make your people proud.
All right, so Michael B. Jordan. I feel like I have to say the whole name. I just feel like calling you Michael doesn't quite seem right. So Fritzy from Twitter would like to know, what was the most challenging and the most memorable part of playing Killmonger?
Most challenging and the most memorable. That's a good question. I think the whole process for me was a challenge. First time I'm playing a character that was as sad and as vulnerable as Erik was, but strong at the same time and very passionate. He was. It took a lot of preparation and a lot of psychological work to kind of get to that dark place. So I think that's probably one of the more challenging aspects of becoming Killmonger. Most memorable, I think it was the first day I went to set. It was the first time T'Challa and Erik met. It was the first day that I actually went to work. And for me, I'm usually, whenever me and Ryan, the last two projects, I'm usually, connected at the hip. I'm there the first day of production. I'm on set. It's a whole process. And for this one, the rest of the cast, they were shooting a couple weeks before I showed up. So I was a little anxious. I was a little antsy. It felt like the first day of school. I had my school clothes laid out on the bed. I was ready to, get up and go to work. And I was really excited about working with Chad because we, had never worked together before, and I was really looking forward to going to work. So anyway, that was probably the most memorable moment. That one that I'll never forget. So yeah, that was that.
Well, I can't wait because I want to see the two of you meet, and I want to see this little vibe that you have going on right here. But for now, we'll talk about the fictional process of this country. This is for Nate. How hard and how deep was it, right, to come up with this fictional country that has a mix of a lot of beautiful people from different places? How hard was it to bring that to life so that this experience that we don't even anticipate, in anticipation of what we're going to see, is already like making people feel like they want to be a part of it?
Yeah, it was hard, but I will say the source material is really rich, right? So we're working off of 50 years of comic history, starting with Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's interpretation of Wakanda. So we knew we had source material we could always refer back to if we needed inspiration. But when Ryan came on and Hannah Beekler, our production designer, came on, they really made it their mission to go to real African sources for inspiration for the costumes and the designs of all the structures and even how the city is laid out. And I think all of that care they spent in the details of the place helped it make it feel real for all of us. Because, it's one thing to look at a Jack Kirby design and try to replicate that on a set, but I think finding those real world touchstones actually made it so much richer than it otherwise would have been. So it really was the work, I think, behind the scenes, even Ruth Carter, our costume designer, Jeff Bauman, our visual effects supervisor, to go to that extra mile to find the real world reference, I think, is what makes this film special.
So I'm just going to build on that because there's lots of powerful women in this movie as well. And so are there more prominent roles that you see that women, that you personally are excited about, not only in Black Panther, but perhaps in future Marvel films? Like, what are your thoughts about that? Prominent roles for women.
Yeah, look, I think this film, one of the strengths of the movie are the very varied female characters. Between Nakia, Okoye, Shuri, and Ramonda, Angela Bassett's character, I think you get 4 different kind of archetypal female characters. And usually in films, you maybe get 1 or 2 if you're lucky. So part of what makes this film special is seeing women with their own agency, with their own points of view, and they don't always agree, but they get to kind of determine their own destinies. That's really powerful. And I think as we continue to make these films, it's important for us to find other characterizations like that. For instance, Captain Marvel, which is coming out, Evangeline Lilly's character, the Wasp, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, like forcing us at Marvel to find these female characters that have their own stories, that feel distinct from each other. I think it's just good storytelling. So we want to continue to push the envelope and find other properties that also highlight, very strong women.
So speaking of powerful women, Danai, Colleen from Twitter would like you to comment, first of all, that you look so incredible.
Thank you.
But what type of fight training did you have to do for that role?
It was intense. We all had very intense training. We went through what Lupita rightly terms a boot camp, where we were all together for a while and deeply in training and with amazing stunt coordinators and amazing fight coordinators who were just experts at this work. And what was really awesome was we then would break into our groupings with our specific type of work, because what was really brilliant about what I'm sure Nate was involved, what Ryan did as well, was he really came up with very specific ways that he would describe to each of us, how our characters engaged in combat. And that is really a place where you find your character. It's grueling in the beginning because it's like, this is a whole new way of moving. I have to move very specifically as a woman who's been trained in a traditional way of how to fight for her nation. And it's come from generation after generation of these women fighting for the protection of their nation. Mm-hmm. And so, that was a specific type of training. And then like Nakia has a whole other specific type of training because her character, was as Ryan described to her, it was street, so it was very different. So each of us had a different way of coming at the training. And, initially there was a lot of work I had to do with the staff, and I'm used to a sword, but a sword only has one end. The staff has 2, and it's 6 feet tall. So it was different. And, there's a lot of twirling action. And so I had to learn a lot of that. And it was hard in the beginning. I was working on it in my apartment and I dropped the thing a lot. Got a little knock from the people living underneath me, what the hell is going on here? I'm like, listen, if you hear anything banging on the floor, just know I'm not trying to bang it, The goal is not to bang it. The goal is to keep it up. So, there was those really... I was like, so root for me. Oh, come on. Twitter. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. Family movie. We're going to move on to the next question. All right, not what I meant. But moving on. The point of it was just it was a very grueling initiation. And then when you start to find the character through all the grueling work, it becomes really cool. And I loved how Ryan really wanted the Dora Milaje to have almost like a dance movement to how they moved and a synchronicity. So it was this really awesome combination talking about female characters of femininity and ferocity. And those two things just lived really harmoniously together in these characters, in the army and these women. So I just loved that about it.
Well, I think we all need our own little Dora Milaje, right? In our own little lives. Maybe without the two-part sword thing, right? We leave that part at home. All right, Kevin, how about you down there on the end? Frank Campbell from Twitter wants to know, what does Black Panther in this movie as a whole bring to Marvel as a universe? And what is unique and special about this film that's different from any other?
Well, Black Panther, Nate said a little bit, Black Panther's been around over 50 years in our comics. So for us, who love the source material, we want to bring it to life on the big screen, it was always a dream to say, when are we going to go to Wakanda? When are we going to bring these amazing characters to the screen? It was, 4 or 5 years ago, we were sitting in a room working on a movie called Captain America Civil War, when we were figuring out who the teams were and who the players were, and Nate Moore had the idea to include Black Panther into that. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning where it went from, maybe we could do this someday to, let's start doing it now. And it was only a few days later that we called Chadwick and asked if he would play this character. And then, I don't remember, a few months after that, we were standing on a stage in Hollywood announcing that Chadwick was in the movie and that we were actually making the movie. And to be on this stage today with this unbelievable team and with Ryan Coogler, who thankfully, Nate talked into doing this movie. It's amazing. And by the way, it's not just what Black Panther and these amazing characters add to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's what these actors and these filmmakers have added to Marvel Studios and have added to the way we make movies and the way we're going to continue to make movies from now on.
So Marvel and IMAX actually teamed up to create this experience, and they've done a number of these things over the last decade. What about this universe lends itself so well to the IMAX experience? So this is a shout out to IMAX wherever you are. All right. As a company, as an organization, as a
it's incredible, and it's the reason you drive out here to watch a big screen. You want to see Wakanda. What Ryan has done, he can talk about more than I can, is there are sequences in this movie that you will not see the full experience unless you see it in IMAX. Okay. The screen literally gets bigger for certain action sequences.
Ryan, you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I love the format. Like, I've seen a lot of incredible movies. Back home in the Bay, I would go to IMAX. It's at a place called the Metreon, downtown Frisco. I would go with my friends. I go with my wife. She was my girl. We would go. We would sit in the IMAX lobbies at we would go see screenings at 4 a.m. You know what I'm saying? Because we couldn't get the midnight screening. And for me, it was just the best way to see a movie, man, and to hear it, to sit, to sit right in it, and for us to be able to make this film, we got almost an hour of additional footage where we open up and use the full IMAX screen, and it works for the story, it works for the story because we using it when we go into Wakanda, when we go into these spaces that are important to our characters. So I think it really adds to it, if you can see the film like that.
Well, it's a long way from the Grand Lake Theater.
I still
That's
rock
an
with the
inside
Grand Lake
joke,
too. Yeah.
right? All right,
the
the Grand Lake Theater is a very old theater. It's not IMAX. We need to upgrade it. Help us with that. All right. So this question actually comes from Vera DeAndre and her question is about Shuri and how that matches up in the Marvel Universe. Is it true that Shuri is smarter than Tony Stark and Althea? And they want to know if Shuri or Spider-Man would win the fight, and which one do you think who do you think will win?
Is this for me?
Shuri and Spider-Man for Leticia, yes.
Man, Tom's my friend. And I was contemplating helping him in the future with his suit and stuff, and we were just going back and forth. But Oh, I think I would win. 'Cause
We're rooting for you.
you know, being Wakandan and all. I have good genes from my brother.
Well, rumor has it that there is going to be an epic battle. So I don't know who started that rumor, but it may be just a rumor.
For what?
For this battle. The battle between Shuri and Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think he would let me off though.
Okay. All right.
You can't hit girls.
All right, Winston. Winston Duke. Jarrell, I actually think I know this, Jarrell. I imagine there's many in the world, but I think I know this one. Ask, what is it like playing M'Baku?
Well, it's incredibly special, and it was really fun getting to play this character that the creative team really took from this place of real specific obscurity to having a lot more responsibility and weight and gravitas in the story. So instead of having M'Baku be this guy who's driven purely by his ego and the leader of the white gorilla cult, it's now elevated to him being the leader of his tribe and having the welfare of an entire people and being more politically driven and knowing that a lot of people are depending on him. So he has a lot of things that he has on his mind, and he knows that all of his actions count. So he has to make the right decision at all times. So it wasn't anything that I can just ignore or shirk, or I had a lot of things to pull from, and I had a lot of my own experience being a member of my community and knowing that my actions count. Yes. So I could draw upon that. And it was really, really great to dig into that material and then get to do all the fighting and all these different things. So it was just this array of fun things I could do.
You looking at him like you gonna say something. All right, well, I'm gonna ask you a question then, all right? All right.
No, you don't have to ask me a question. I was just enjoying hearing
But
him
it is
talk
actually
about
your question.
It is actually your question.
Oh, it's my question.
It is. And it actually doesn't come from me. It actually comes from Bernard in Nairobi, Kenya. Mm. He wants to know, how hot is it in that suit?
It's actually I wish I had it today to go outside in it. Because it's cold out there now. It's really hot, It's really, really, really hot. I can't really put it into words. The new suit is better than the old suit, I have to say, but it's only about 1 degree better. and it's the one thing I will say is that I appreciate it. I appreciate what it gives you in terms of character, and I appreciate the concept of beauty being painful.
Well, I will tell you, preparing for tonight is painful.
Yeah.
But today I wore some flats for you, so I have to crawl over these shoes and over these little stairs. But I will tell you, we pay. So a shout out to all the women in the universe, in Marvel, in this studio, and anybody who's listening, for the price we pay for beauty. Welcome. All right, Lupita, Brogan from Twitter would like to know what it's like to be a part of the Marvel universe.
It's amazing. I mean, shortly after I graduated from drama school, Winston and I actually went to drama school together, and we went to see Avengers, and we watched it together, and we both said to each other, wouldn't it be cool to be in a Marvel movie?
One day,
and here we are, I mean, I couldn't have...
Y'all see that?
Yeah, we did. And we said, oh man, we could even pull cable. Anything. Yeah, so we were dreaming together, and then I just remember the day the day he joined us for the boot camp, and we were walking down the halls, and it was like, it's like we're in school again, but it's Marvel. And that's pretty cool, So it feels really great. I've always wanted to to be a badass, and I get to be that in this movie. And
Well, you should know you're a badass without the movie, but we'll let you say that. we'll let you take that way.
Thank you.
So this question is for Michael B. Jordan, and Celia wants to know what it feels like to be a hero now that you played a hero. What it's like to be a villain. I actually like you as a hero.
Thank you.
But I'll judge after how I feel about you being a villain. But what one was more fun to you?
And can I just add to that?
Do you think?
Give me one, please.
Man, so vicious. Where's Joe, man?
I missed that one.
Oh man. This is inside. This is an inside thing. This is an inside thing.
I can explain. I'll explain.
It's a deer.
Damn. I'll explain.
Oh, you explain it?
Yo, do that.
This question made you stand up.
Do it.
All right, come on. We need some explanations now. This was not in the script.
She cold-blooded.
All right.
Oh, she cold-blooded.
It's a ritual in the African-American community.
Okay.
A traditional challenge called on-call push-ups.
Okay.
So you make a bet.
That's brutal.
And if you lose the bet, you lost the bet to
Wait, did you lose
on-call
the bet?
push-ups. So Mike,
You lost.
he owns Lupita on-call push-ups. On-call push-ups, how they work is at any given time, no matter what the offender is doing, you ask for a push-up, and they gotta give it to you.
You gotta give it. There's no getting out.
Yeah, so she just asked for a push-up.
So you failed.
As long as nobody asks me to do a push-up right now, we're going to take the last question. We're going to wrap up. All right, Mike, you want to answer this question? Michael B. Jordan, want to answer this question? The question was, which one was more fun, the villain or the hero?
Villain was a lot of fun. Only because it was my first time playing it, and it gave me a chance to go into a different side I don't usually get a chance to play. So that was fun.
Okay.
He's
All
still
right.
hurt.
Terrible.
All right now.
Terrible.
All right.
But
I would tell you I learned something different. I learned something today about one-call push-ups. So I am going to ask the last question. And the last question actually comes from Atlanta, Georgia. What you should know is that there is a group of children who actually, their video went viral on Twitter because they videoed the actual reaction of these young students when they found out they were going to get to go and see. I gotta find the question though.
they turned up. I love it.
Hold on.
Like,
All right.
ridiculous.
All right, so this is their question. So their video went viral. This is their question. There are millions of black children around the world watching you on the big screen, computers and television screens. What is the one message that you want to send to them as we wrap up?
Wow.
You can be whatever you want to be.
For the kids.
For the kids,
This is
you
for
can
the
be whatever you
kids,
wanna be. Anything's
not the push-up.
possible. You're not limited by your environment. Being able to, if you can see it, you can believe it. You can achieve it. And it sounds cliche, but it's facts. So giving these kids inspiration.
I'll add to that. Specifically for the black children, I think the film is for everybody, but specifically for the black children, I hope that they take away that they never ever have to be ashamed to be African. There's something to be proud of.
So we have been given this day to use as we will. We could waste it or use it for good, and today we did a little good.
Yeah.
What happens tomorrow will be because of the choices that we made today. May they be reminders that this cast, that this producer, that this president, that this group of people have put something on the screen that is going to change the way we see sometimes ourselves, and even remind and inspire young people to aspire not only to be them, but to be happy as themselves. We have been given this day to use as we will. We can waste it or use it for good. When tomorrow comes, this day will be gone forever. And in its place is something we left behind. And today it was something good. Long live the king!
Long live.
All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you everybody out there on Twitter.
Definitely.
Hold on.